time to talk about Season 8 as well as Season 9. Let's start off with the elephant in the room, and that is not much has really changed for Season 9 to Season 8. You would think so, but I think the game is going to end up changing when it comes to its macro play. I don't think it's going to really change to micro play that much at all. So basically the strategies I think are going to be changing, but inherently I think the mechanics are not really going to be changing that much at all. In my opinion, Smite's biggest problem right now is its micro play. I think there are too many gods in the game which are too strong at pretty much all stages of the game. They are too overtuned, they are too powerful, and you've sort of crapped like the power level of pretty much everything up. And there are too many items in the game which are too powerful and too strong and too overtuned and too overstated. Right, yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts. I think what I mean by that is what I would like them to do for Season 9 and what I wanted them to do for Season 9, but I thought was incredibly unlikely, was pretty much just tuning everything down, but making tier 4 items. So what I would have done is take, for example, the hammer tree. I would have made it so there's one aggressive hammer, there's one defensive hammer, and there's one hammer that is basically a hybrid between like defensive and aggressive. Say, for example, what we have right now, but the stats that you get are significantly lower compared to the other two. It's pretty much just in the middle. So the aggressive hammer, you effectively have something like, I don't know, 60 power, but you just get the physical power. The health hammer or the defensive hammer, you get like health and, say, for example, some physical protections, but you don't get any power. Effectively, you have to make a choice, and the problem like the game has right now is a lot of characters are very, very strong. They have very, very good clear, they have lots of mobility, and effectively they don't have any real weakness. And what we have on top of this as well is there's a lot of like really pub stompy characters in the game that just have not been touched or tuned, and you have an unfun mess. Now the game's fun, but there are a lot of characters which are inherently incredibly, incredibly overtuned, and it just isn't fun to really play. The result is effectively you have a significantly like stale meta at the higher levels of play, where characters which are ridiculously powerful are just constantly getting played, and the pub stomping characters really aren't seeing any play at all, because at higher levels of play they're not very good, and at lower levels of play they just completely dominate. So we have a lopsided game. There is no in between. I feel like balance honestly should be more of a scale. So if you have really good clear, you should have weaker mobility, and characters that have lots of mobility and say crowd control should basically not have any clear at all, or much weaker clear, with the game basically being a scale. Personally though, I don't know like how you would achieve this outside of effectively reworking how the game currently is, and that, well, what I mean by that is making archetypes and making items around that. So I would pretty much just change the entire item trees across the entire board, and that's a pretty big proposition to make, because I'm not even sure that would even work. What I'm trying to say here is, well, take for example junglers. Right now you have two types of junglers. You have ability based and you have auto attack based, and that's it really. There is no like other archetype. There is no space for that. There are no items in the game which effectively allow you to build another archetype, and there's nothing there. Like there's literally nothing there. If we look at healers, healers are in a very weird place where the fact they can't really play support where in other MOBAs they can, because items exist and a role has basically been like created for them, and they can't really play mid lane without snowballing on people. So they are sort of like a weird bruiser burst character which doesn't have any itemization which works for them that well, and as a result they are either incredibly frustrating to play against or like downright underpowered, and there's no real in between. And that's it really. If you take a look at hunters basically have like one archetype and that's it. Well, carry has like one archetype. Yeah, solo laners have like one archetype as well, which is basically like a bruiser, and that's it. There's no like defensive solo laners at all because the itemization just doesn't really exist. It basically leans into a bruiser style of play, and that's it. Yeah, I feel like this is the biggest problem in terms of balance for Smite right now, and something which they should honestly be looking to address. But they have no willpower to do that, and they have no desire to do that, and they've shown that over the years. They just don't want to touch it. The game's still fun, but it is, in my opinion, a bit of a mess in regards to its balance. In terms of ranked basically then like turns out to be becoming like pretty much an aggro fest. Whoever has the best aggro wins, and there's not much room, if any room, for like mid-range or control teams at all, because effectively what you want to do is just overwhelm your opponent and quickly get into the next game, and there's no there's nothing else there. There's no other viable strategies, and this is a huge problem in my opinion, and something they should be looking to address. So effectively what I'm trying to say is they need to be changing the items more, and that's what I wanted for Season 9, and they needed to be adding like new archetypes into the game and do an overall giant balance pass of the power creep and the overtuning that has happened in the game. And that's just my opinion really, as well as reworking a significant portion of the kits, as well as doing some other changes. I don't think they need massive changes when it comes to reworks, but there are a couple characters that probably do. The rest probably honestly just need a couple things taking away, and that's really it. Yeah. Take for character like Mulan. Mulan right now is very dominant in like aggressive ways, but she is a character that has a lot of fundamental weaknesses. Her biggest weakness is the fact that her Claire is good. No, actually, I got that bit mixed up. Her biggest weakness right now, and has been her weakness for a very long period of time, has been her escape. Her escape is very skill dependent on the user, and if she does not use her escape properly, or she misses her escape and she doesn't hit the wall, she just is a character that has no real escape. She does a lot of damage, but she doesn't really have an escape, and that is her weakness. Take for a character like Achilles. Achilles is also very similar to her. He's a bully, but he really doesn't have an escape, and that's fine. I think Milan is probably one of the better balanced characters right now. She is in some respects overvalued in my opinion, because a lot of players just don't understand how to play against aggro, and she is a like symptom of that. People just don't understand how to play the game properly, and she is a character that is honestly somewhat well designed. I don't like the fact she doesn't have a good escape. Personally, that's why I don't really like playing her, but I have gotten used to that. I feel like there are way too many characters though that basically are significantly easier to play and have less of a downside compared to her, and that is a huge problem in terms of balance, in my opinion. Of course, I am willing to admit that I think the designers have been in the right direction for some of their choices. Not all of them, but some of their choices. It's just that they don't seem to have the confidence to make big sweeping changes to certain problems that have been a problem for a while now, and I think that is a damn shame. Again, I'm talking about itemization, as well as general like god balance. But I can understand like how they've got here and why they've got here. So there is that. So, thoughts on season 9? It's pretty much the same as season 8, outside of a couple macro changes, which are going to be interesting because we have seen somewhat changes like this before. So the game's going to change how it is played early on, and possibly be changing how it's going to get played like later on to the game. I have got a big concern about one element they've added though, and that element is something that is very team dependent, and that is going to irritate me. They're adding like more team play into the game by adding another objective, but given how most players don't really play by the objective and you have a lot of trouble coordinating people in ranked games and casual games, I suspect that's going to be a giant mess for a while. And yeah, I suspect it's probably going to be slightly irrelevant, and the teams that do are going to snowball horribly, which is going to cause some problems. But we'll see. We will see. Hopefully that doesn't happen, and hopefully the player base are not idiots, and hopefully things do work out and it actually is an interesting thing to add to the game. But we will see. Generally though, the tier 4 items I am somewhat happy with. I honestly would have liked to see a massive item rework alongside of that too. Personally, I'm of the opinion that effectively what Smite needs to do is it needs to basically scale back a lot of items and keep it simple, and then tier 4 should basically be really good passives or like improving other stats, and there should be multiple of them and they should be luxury. This might be able to open up new build paths, but they haven't really done that. They've just given us like one new tier 4 or two effectively, and they don't really do much outside of add a passive. Some of them have extra stats, but yeah, it's interesting. I'm not convinced it's going to work, but it's going to be interesting. I do like what they have done though. Ish. It's not how I would have done it, but I'm happy they did it anyway. If that makes sense. It's nice. The fort's there, and I'm happy they've actually like added it. I really am, because for a very long period of time I was thinking, you know what, I would like to see some tier 4 items, and they now have them. So, yeah. As for the rest of the changes, honestly, not much has really changed. They've done some like minor changes, but generally, not much has really changed. Now, I've seen some players complain about the fact that well, there isn't that many major changes, but the changes they have done are pretty significant. So we will see. I am slightly curious to see how it plays. Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to play the public test server. I do have a code and access to it now, but I downloaded it too late, and I would honestly like the server to last longer, but what can you do? So, yeah, a bit of a ramble, I guess, but there you go. This gameplay I literally got earlier. I generally don't really play solo that much. I haven't really played that much ranked. Ranked is... I don't even know like what I would do to adjust ranked, or like what the issue is with ranked. The problem ranked has is its player base is just tiny, and it just creates really weird results. There's also very little incentive to play ranked, and little to no growth in actual playing ranked, and any reason to really bother. I'll be honest with you, I still don't understand why the Honor decided to walk at me. We can talk about that very briefly as well. Sometimes in Smite, doing nothing is actually the best call, and making sure that you're not doing the risky play. But a lot of players, it's weird. They will take the risky play, but whenever like the unrisky play comes up and there's an opportunity, they will not take it. I'm looking at you teams that basically see everybody use their entire kit on one person and just look at them and go, "Yeah, we can't. We shouldn't fight you, even though we've just used everything. We have everything on cooldown." And I still have my ultimate up, and it's a perfectly good fight compared to, I don't know, 2 versus 5ing people, which is something that a lot of low-level players seem to do, and it just boggles my mind. I don't know, like, it's just confusing. It's baffling. It really is weird when players do that. They're like, yeah, this obvious fight that's really, really bad, let's fight it, but this obvious fight that's really, really good for us, let's not bother. Which doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense at all. It really doesn't. So, yeah, that's some gameplay from Smite, and these are my thoughts on Season 8 as well as Season 9. I have enjoyed this season. I haven't... Well, I played a little bit of rank, not that much. I did get my God skin, but I haven't actually got the border. I found the matchmaking to be interesting, although it is very similar to compared to how it used to be. Well, it's always been. So I haven't really noticed a decline, although I've seen some people complain about a decline. This is also another thing as well. This is why I picked this gameplay. Is like any objective gameplay, trying to get low-level players to do it is going to be rough, and I suspect that Season 9 adding a new objective is also going to be pretty rough. I don't know why the Neef decided not to actually go for Gold Fury, but whatever. Yeah. Generally, I feel like they need to do something to incentivize objective player for like low-level players and encourage them to do this. The problem, like a lot of low-level players have, is they play very, very aggressive and they play like very aggro, but they don't understand like how to play, and they just don't. They're playing. What's the best way of putting it? They are playing the game very similar to how like pro players play, very aggressive, but it's sloppy, it's unrefined, they don't understand like what they should be doing. They just run at you. And then like gold players / platinum, they start to slowly understand that they need to go for objectives. They still run at you, but they don't run at you without reason or cause. And then diamond level players, they understand to a point like how to play and objectives and stuff, and those being important. Speaking of which, I have no idea what it is about low-level players that play jungle, but they seem to complain whenever solo laners seem to take their jungle camps, even though they leave the jungle camps up for way too long. And if they really cared that much about those jungle camps, they would be there on time, but they're not, because they're pointlessly fighting over farming. And that's something as well that a lot of players do, especially at lower levels of play. They just will not farm. They seem to be allergic to farm. And they just leave farm up and they're just looking for kills, which is fine, but they don't play characters that play like that. If you want to play that sort of play style, play Hero, play like Arachne, play pub stompy characters in every single role. They just don't, though. It's weird. It really is weird. They play like aggressive, but they're playing the non-aggressive characters, and it just... yeah, it's just a bit confusing. Anyway, that's all for now. So thank you for watching. I'll see you again next time. Hope you enjoyed the Milan gameplay. This was a casual game, and I'll see you next time. I have to try and work out how I'm going to end this video. So, I still play Smite because I enjoy it. There you go. Bye for now.